Hey, everybody. I have the distinct pleasure today to talk to a newly successful Tennessee Uniform Bar Exam applicant. Nicole, how are you feeling right now? Yeah, this has been quite a journey for you, hasn't it? Yeah. Can you tell the audience how many times you've taken the exam? 4. And what was your score on this last exam?
296. What am I saying?
Yeah, it was a 296. And that is how many points better than your last attempt? Do you remember?
It was 155 the last time, I believe.
Right. So I think you're up about 35 points.
Mhm.
Now, folks, if you don't know, 35 points is mind-blowing under any circumstance. And a 296 would allow you to practice where?
Anywhere in the UBE.
Anywhere in the UBE. That's over 32 jurisdictions. So, wow. What does that feel like to you right now?
It is a huge weight off my shoulders, and it is a very positive feeling that I accomplished something that I was able to after several tries.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, you have, I want to say 5 children. Is that right?
I do. I have 5 kids.
And can you give me the age range? Because I think it's interesting for people to get a sense of this.
Yeah, the age range is from 18-year-old twins to a 28-year-old. So when I was in law school, they were much younger.
Yeah. When did you go to law school, Nicole?
I graduated in 2020 and I went to night school. So it took 4 years from 2016 to 2020.
And so this process that started in 2016 now culminates in 2022. What a 6-year journey it's been. What did your kids say? I mean, they're old enough to certainly understand the significance of the bar exam. What did they say when you told them about your result?
They were thrilled. I think they were as excited as I was.
Yeah. And what a model that must be to them, right? About perseverance and not giving up.
I think so. They tell me that they're very proud of me and they're just very excited about the whole process. For education, based. They liked school, so it helps.
Yeah. What was there a point at which you felt discouraged and ready to give up before you got to this?
This was, yes, after the second time that I did not pass the bar, I just thought it was pointless. I didn't feel like I was going anywhere or doing anything, and it felt like a waste of time. It was horrible.
Yeah. And then you came to Celebration Bar Review, and I think this was your first try with us. Am I correct? But what was different about our course than what you had done previously? That's a massive jump, 35 points.
Everything was different. And right from the very beginning, I was looking at different courses because I knew I had to do something different to get a different result. And I went ahead and was talking to several different programs, but you were the only person who actually wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with me to see where I was and what I was trying to accomplish and know about me and my situation. And when I spoke to you and you started explaining how different tracks that you have as far as the opportunities to do the mind mapping and the personal coaching and things like that, I was sold. The way you explained how essays were, all of a sudden it made sense to me, where it was just such a cumbersome issue. Spot the issues. When I stopped spotting issues, all of a sudden I could answer an essay question.
So that really changed a lot for you. Instead of trying you actually started to write in a more coherent and cohesive way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you did some work with Megan Saya, one of our senior editors. Can you talk a little bit about those coaching sessions that you did with Megan?
Sure. I did the MPT coaching sessions with Megan. I was horrible. I never got higher than a 2 on an MPT, so horrible. And she was so good with me and so good at identifying my weaknesses and helping me bring out my strengths. And again, I needed to have a template. I needed something. I was looking for something specific, and she was there to give me exactly what I needed and the encouragement to do it.
Yeah, she's quite a teacher, isn't she?
Yes, she really is.
I'm the hard one. She's the nice one, but she's got such a skill, particularly with performance tests. And you must have done very well on the performance test to get the score you got. So I'm pretty sure there was a big change there.
I think so.
Yeah. You talked about mind maps. Did you use mind mapping for your note taking?
I did not use mind mapping per se, but when we did the Wednesday calls and you did the mind mapping, I mind mapped the big concepts that are constantly tested. So I did a little bit of it, but I didn't dive into it.
Would you recommend mind mapping to people?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Right. Now, our approach to studying is certainly different than cramming and memorizing and reciting. Was that a big shift for you to make in your thought process?
It was. And I think that was one of the big things that helped me. When I started back, I guess, in October, just studying for 4 hours a day felt very like I wasn't doing enough. I need to do more. But obviously, that worked. Things stayed with me better. I had a better recollection of things, I had a clearer, quicker recollection of things. And until the last week, maybe, I did the 4 or 5 hours a day, and that was it.
Right.
And that was
And
only 5 days a week.
yeah, and people tend to think that we're kidding when we say that, but really that score, which is an amazing score. I keep looking at it because I'm like, whoa. But you did that without putting in 700, 800 hours of study, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's pretty crazy. And I think that when people think about somebody that's failed the exam multiple times, they would say the pass rate for a repeat bar taker is about 20%. And you didn't just squeak over, you blew it out of the water. That must have felt like the cherry on top of the sundae, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about the moment that you discovered what your scores were and you found out you passed.
I was at work, so I wasn't able to keep hitting refresh like most people were on the computer screen. All of a sudden, my phone just started buzzing, and it buzzed and it buzzed and it buzzed, and it wouldn't stop. And all I could think of was, well, that has to be good news. That would be awfully cruel if I didn't pass to have all these people notifying me. So then I just jumped online and I saw it, and I couldn't believe it. I was just the email that said my score, I was blown away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really remarkable. What advice would you give someone who's been in your position? They've taken the bar a few times, they've failed, they're discouraged. What would you tell them now?
I would tell them, make sure you don't do what you normally do. You have to change what you're doing. If you're going to choose celebration, which I highly recommend, that you trust in the process. In the beginning, it was very difficult to start doing the essays completely differently, to start answering multiple choice based on intuition as opposed to follow the question, reading the answers, eliminate this. It was just completely different. And definitely that February, was it February 91? That was great. And that boosted my self-confidence with the multiple choice because I did very well on that. So I felt like I was prepared. It was the only time I walked in there feeling prepared. And that 4 to 5 hours is perfect. You'll
Yeah.
burn yourself out.
Yeah. Let's talk about this idea of selective intuition, is what we call it. It's
Mhm.
taking a multiple choice question, for example, and instead of trying to grind through it, you're doing something different. Can you describe what you did, what your selective intuition method was?
I read the question and I got the answer in my head before I looked at anything else. And then I'd look at the answers there. And if there was confusing, I'd break it down. What do I know? What do I know to be true? And then you could, to me, it was easily enough to eliminate at least two of the answers. Because even if I wasn't 100% sure, I was very close. But that first answer I wanted, it started to be the only answer I wanted. And
Great.
it was great.
And how long did it take you to finish 100 questions in each session of the MBE?
That's so funny you ask that. The first session, the first 100 questions, I was done 25 minutes early and I felt great. The second session, I was probably done about 10 minutes early. I was a little more hesitant. There were a couple of things I wasn't sure of, but once I was done, I was done. There was nothing else I could do that was going to change it. And I found in all of the practice I've done, changing answers, 90% of the time, it was changing it to the wrong answer.
Yeah, I think that's true. Now, was this the first time you actually were physically present for the exam? Were your other
Yes.
all virtual?
Yes.
What was the difference between the virtual exam and being in person?
It was just easier. The tension in the room was very high, but the just being there surrounded by people who were in the same situation. And if something came up, there were people available to ask if you needed to. But to me, it was a much smoother way of doing things. And I need that piece of paper. I wanted to see that MPT on paper instead of trying to scroll on my screen.
I think it makes a big difference. And you're right about the tension in the room. How did you keep your focus during that time? Because you obviously did.
You know what? You have wonderful little videos about breathing techniques and relaxation techniques, and I use that. I would sit there and I would take my breaths and I would focus. And if I'd get off track during the exam, I would take a moment, recenter myself, and go after it. I was not going to defeat myself, I guess you would say.
I'm so proud of you, Nicole, for so many reasons. I think that as a mom with grown kids, going back to law school at a later point in life, and when we first talked, I was so impressed. I did remember the 5 children. That stuck out in my brain. And I think that you did what most people never have the courage to do. And then you hung in there when it would have been easy to say, I don't really need this. And you kept at it. Did you feel like this is something I've just got to get accomplished in my life?
Yes, I felt like that. I had come this far. I wasn't going to give up. And it's something I've always wanted to do. So I enjoy the law. And I was trying to remind myself that this is the pain and the butt part. The enjoying the law and working in the field. That's going to be my reward once I'm done with this.
Yeah. What kind of law do you want to practice?
I'll probably end up in domestic, but I have been doing juvenile law. We did clinics and wills and stuff like that. So I enjoy it.
And I think getting underrepresented voices into the bar, right? People that are non-traditional law students is so important, don't you, to have that voice and representation?
Absolutely. A little bit older student. I have a little bit more experience and just a different view, which I think is just an asset to anybody.
You mentioned earlier that you participated in some of the Wednesday coaching that we did. Can you talk a little bit about group coaching, what that was like?
It was supportive and reassuring that you're not the only one out there and there's other people, and everybody was just so great. I couldn't get more positive reinforcement going towards this goal that seemed so unachievable at the time.
Yeah. And I think that it's important for people to remember when you see these kinds of scores and results, you think it's all sunshine and roses, but it's a challenge, isn't it? It's a real struggle some days.
It really is some days, but just head down, plugging away, that pays off.
And I know that you were on our Wednesday Q&A calls a lot. You were paying attention, you were trying things as we were doing them. And that's always fun for us to see somebody going through that process and then picking it up and feeling better. But our goal was to make you feel less isolated. Did that work?
Absolutely. And I have to say, there was a Wednesday where I think 3 of my questions were answered during the Wednesday call. And I was just like, oh, this, and other people were, there was input. It just made me feel so much better. I'm not the only person who's struggling so much, because sometimes you just feel like everybody passed except me.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the isolation and part of the frustration is that you begin to think you're the only person that can't pass, when in fact, when we're looking at repeat bar takers, very few people pass. It's sad to see, but it's such a great thing when you get all of these scores and now you could wave into New York or Illinois or anywhere, actually. That's just got to be like, okay.
It's overwhelming and exciting. I'm just thrilled.
Yeah, we're thrilled for you, Nicole, and we're so proud of the work that you did. I think it's going to be fun to watch your legal career and what you do now, because the burst of confidence you get with a score like this has got to be just like a slingshot.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, I know that your story will inspire a lot of people. There may be somebody out there today that's thinking, I'm just going to give up. I just can't do it. What do you say to that person?
Don't give up. You can do it. You can do it. You just have to do it a little different than what you thought. It's just a different path than you thought was going to get you to the end, but it still gets you to the end.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great advice. And I hope that people in our audience listen, because it can happen to you. If you do the work, if you put in the effort that Nicole put in, if you follow the teaching and the direction that we offer, you can pass, and you can pass by a lot.
You can do it.
Any final comments you want to leave with us before we wrap up?
No, just thank you so much, everyone. You, the staff, June, Maggie, everyone has been wonderful. Never were my questions not answered in a timely manner, and just even more than just, I felt like I was being spoon-fed half the time. I had to apologize to June. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm one of those crazy people who can't remember my name. Where did you say the scores were posted? And just everyone was wonderful. It was a great experience. It was so positive and personal that I've told all my friends, like anyone who didn't pass the bar, I'm like, you've got to try it. You've got to try it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your story and putting this out there. I hope that your kids will watch this video, and I know they're going to be very proud of Mom.
Well, I'll share with you, apparently my dad, I told them I took the bar, but I didn't tell them when the results were. My dad had apparently gotten online. He knew when the results were. He couldn't sleep. He was up at 4 a.m. hitting refresh, thinking that at any moment those scores could be posted. So he actually knew before I did.
Wow.
It made
Nicole,
me
yeah, it should. It should make you feel awesome. Thank you again for being with us. I appreciate so much that you're here and you'd share your story. I know that there are going to be people in our audience who will be really inspired to go out there and give it a shot and not give up, as you said. So we want to thank you for that. And to our audience, we'll be back soon with another inspiring story, although it's pretty tough to top this one. And yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Nicole.
thank you, Jackson. Bye-bye.